Hello and welcome to another fine edition of It's a Sports Show. As always, DP Dolphin Paul on the side of me. An exciting time for you because we're going to do our football preview show today as promised last week. I'm Scott Cray. Thanks for watching, everyone. What show are we on? Do you have any idea at this point?
I believe it's 144. Is
Jen,
it not, Jen?
Jen behind the glass. You know what's going on. 145.
145 was a show.
5 shows to go to the big
impressive.
150.
Interconnected, 145 shows. That's a lot of shows.
People don't even live to be 150.
Absolutely.
Especially the Crocodile Hunter, which we'll talk about right now.
I guess we have a football preview show. We're going to go through all the teams real quick, but we have a few things to clean up right away, so we'll spend the first 3, 4, 5 minutes cleaning up a few things.
Yep.
As you can see with our wonderful set today, we got the football preview.
We have to explain the rest in peace. All right, this was left over from last week. We are actually resting the Red Sox in peace. It's a pure coincidence.
Went out 9 games behind the Yankees,
right.
So
it's a pure coincidence that we had this up.
Not even for the most optimistic Red Sox fan. There's just no shot.
I'll tell you, last night was exciting, though. And already this morning, the talk on the radio was, hey, they're only 6 games out. Because, of course, we're beating up on Chicago, who is the team we're chasing. But it's just...
It'd be a great story, but I just don't see any way it's going to happen. Yeah. That's why we get the RIP. But the RIP came in at a good time because...
Right. We've lost one of our own.
We've lost one of my personal heroes.
Jen's too. Jen's been sad for 2 straight days now.
Steve Irwin, the Crocodile Hunter, unfortunately passed away this weekend.
Yep.
Not from a crocodile, by a freak accident.
Right.
Stung by a Devil Ray, Tampa Bay Devil Ray.
Yeah, he's not a Devil Ray fan, safe to say.
Stung by a sea ray, filming a documentary right through his heart. And
you know, you're not the first one to say freak accident, and maybe you could say that. But, I mean, are you going to tell me if he got eaten by a crocodile that would have been a freak accident? The fact of the matter is the dude was dealing with a dangerous animal and got killed by the dangerous animal.
He was, but the last thing you think of when you think of Steve Irwin is, you know, sea rays. He had some shows. He did a lot in the water with turtles and snakes.
Right.
The first thing I thought of, well, here we go. He PO'd one too many crocs, and the thing got him. But, man, he's only 44 years old.
Yeah, it's sad, too. Jokes aside.
I mean, his enthusiasm for life and animals was unbelievable. You got to admit,
was that in a press release somewhere?
No, it's coming from me.
Straight from your heart?
Straight from me.
I know. Jen's a big fan, too. Yeah, it's sad, but, hey, the dude died doing what he did.
He's going to the big crocodile pond in the sky. Absolutely. And like
remember Happy Gilmore?
Yeah.
The Carl Weathers character?
Right.
He got bit by the crocodile.
That's right.
I don't know where that came from.
A couple other things we got to clean up.
Yes.
You want to clean up.
Well, you got to talk about Andre Agassi. I mean, you want to sit here and talk about Tiger Woods.
Are you kidding me?
But Andre Agassi has won more in his tennis years than Tiger Woods still has in his golf years. He called this year quits, and this was his last year, and now this was the last tournament of the year. So Andre Agassi, all done after 21 years playing not just professional tennis, but just being a professional. You know, he's the man. I mean, only 5 people have won all 4 Grand Slam events, and he's obviously one of them. So you got to wonder, is he one of the best tennis players of all time?
I think not only the good thing about him, I don't know if I'd consider him one of the best. He certainly would be up there, but
he wasn't one of the best.
Well, but he wasn't as dominant as like a Pete Sampras or Roddick or guys like that. But I think the interesting thing about him, not that I'm a huge tennis fan, was that he kind of reinvented himself. At one time,
right,
he was 100 and something in the world, and then he rose to prominence, and he'd come back down a little bit. But so he was kind of a guy who kept fighting back with all the image thing.
He was all about
his
the
charisma.
Image.
So good for him. Wonderful
Remember
career.
the old days with him going bald, having the long hair with the ponytail, the hat all the time, and the little earring. He always had the dangly earring,
and
like Barry Bonds did.
His taste in women isn't all that bad. Brooke Shields.
Brooke Shields, now Steffi Graf.
Steffi Graf, but she's...
Well, man, you're setting your priorities pretty damn high all of a sudden.
I'll
take Steffi Graf over Brooke Shields.
Oh, I don't know about that.
Maybe because Brooke Shields is like 6'8".
Blue Lagoon, baby.
And I'm,
Brooke Shields.
6 inches, 8 millimeters
tall.
But,
I mean, you mentioned Tiger Woods, and of course, this isn't the show to argue, but the guy has won 5 tournaments in a row since his father died. In a row.
He's ridiculous.
And yesterday, after Vijay Singh had the course record and was 3 shots up. Now, this is Vijay Singh. This isn't one of your locals who's paired up with Tiger Woods and his knees start shaking.
Yep.
Goes back and shoots a 63. I mean, possibly one of the most dominant athletes of all time in his sport. I know we use the word athlete. I don't like to say athlete because he doesn't run the high hurdles or anything, but I'm just saying,
Just the same.
professional
No, I give him credit for being an
sportsman,
athlete.
sports player, incredible. I think he's so far mentally ahead of everybody
Now,
else.
how much of his father passing away does this have play? When the first couple of tournaments he won, you thought that was really important, sort of like a Brett Favre type thing. But now it's starting to be a while,
Well,
and the
that
guy's
just
still on
shows
a
you
tear.
his mentality. That shows you his mentality. The guy's got more money than anybody on tour.
Yeah.
I mean, his endorsements, you know,
By far.
we could by far.
Right.
He's 30 years old and has won 53 tournaments. I mean, some guys, if they win 8, 9, 10 in their career, they're 53 tournaments at age 30.
He's ridiculous.
And he's won 5 in a row. You know, it'd be a great story if he won the one after his father died. Oh,
Right.
and it was
It's
another
beyond
one.
that
I
now.
mean,
And people forget when they see Tiger on TV, and he's been on TV for so long, people forget the guy's only 30 years old.
Yeah.
And to think of how much harder that must be for him with his father passing away, who wasn't just a random dad, he was a mentor and a coach to him, and he's only 30 years old. That had to be touching, and now to go nuts.
this is
like
when
he
guys
is.
start just about hitting their, I guess, golf maturity, their peak,
Right.
where everything comes together.
Imagine if he's still
I mean-
getting at his peak at this point. I mean, 5 in a row. Where does this rate Tiger as far as how good he's been all along? Where are we right now with Tiger? Is this just
Boy,
about the
I
best
mean,
he can?
I think you could definitely argue he's the greatest of all time. I know he hasn't got as many majors as Jack Nicklaus, but I
But
think
there's no reason why he shouldn't get there.
I mean, if he keeps going at this pace, you know,
He'll
bam,
shatter it,
He'll
yeah.
shatter everything. And you know, everybody talked about him getting married. Well, he's going to soften up. He married the Swede there, the cute blonde. But his hunger to win, I think, supersedes everything else because he
You're
really
right.
doesn't need anything per se, but his drive for competition is evident.
Right.
It's incredible. I
what
mean,
feeds him and
you
what
know,
keeps him going.
Golf is very little. There's very little room between golfers. You know, I mean,
Right.
a putt here, a putt there. This guy.
And when you could be the man like he is and be so dominant, you never face the situation where your okay golfer goes against him and buckles, like you said. He's never in that situation because he is the one that causes the knee buckling.
And the thing about him too, and he's done this throughout his career, even early, when he has a lead, he rarely,
Forget it.
if at all, buckles. He doesn't flinch. Where a lot of guys, you know, he could. And the guy's a machine.
When he's got such a lead like that, does he continue to be aggressive or does he just try to
he's
stay
smart
consistent
too. Yeah, I think it's more
to
consistent.
stay ahead of the game?
Depending on the type of tournament, yeah.
Right.
And conversely, the guys who are chasing him, you have to be more aggressive.
Yeah.
And being a golfer like myself, you know, that's when you make mistakes. When you're, you know, maybe trying too hard. Sometimes you got to take chances.
How come I never see your name on the leaderboard?
Well, I'm still working on my game. I'm on the back page.
You're working on the putting. You're working on the fairways. You're working on the teeing off.
Listen, let's get to some
yeah.
NFL football.
I can't wait to hear John
you know,
Madden's voice.
I know you're not too prepared, so I got a special
No,
gift
I don't
for you.
have a whole lot
I got
in
you a
front of me.
book
Wow.
and some sheets so you know where the players play.
Wait, let me take a look at this
It's
here.
called Insider, and you know I
Let me
made
see
copies
this.
for you too, so you can have the whole thing.
Oh, the Dallas
Yes.
Cowboys. See, now that makes sense because Cowboys are from Texas. I get it.
You get it.
What next? Is there a Texas team or Texans
Well,
or something?
Football starts this week, and we got, of course, selfishly speaking, the
Jerk.
Dolphins and the Patriots here because this is what concerns the people in our area. Two teams, especially.
I'm a little disappointed there isn't a Niners / you know, if it was my helmet, I'd have
We'd
the
probably
Niners
need a-
on one side and flip it over and there'd be a Cincinnati Bengals.
Well, I mean, if we had your teams here, we'd probably need a bigger table. I don't know if
I'm
there's enough
tossed. I
helmets.
can't decide, you know?
All right, let's get
Anyway,
right to the preview.
where do you want to
'cause
start?
Let's start in the NFC East. We'll start
All
in
right.
the NFC, which is how I put the pages for you in
I've,
order.
I've got a little bit of paperwork, but I appreciate the, at least
No.
now I know where the Patriots play.
We're just joking, of course, and having a little fun. So we're just going to go division by division and
All right, NFC
maybe see
East.
what we think. I think NFC East is a
This
good
is
place
your
to
old
start.
school smash 'em up division. The Dallas Cowboys added, of course, Terrell Owens, the biggest acquisition of the year. And already over the last couple of weeks, we've heard rumblings about Parcells and Owens. And Owens is saying there aren't any problems. Parcells saying keep to yourself, media. But we know there's got to be some trouble at some point. The important thing, Terrell Owens, despite not practicing because of injury, will be ready to play in Week 1 for the Dallas Cowboys.
That's surprising, isn't it?
It is.
But Terrell Owens, we all called it great on the field. We talked about this when we did our preview last year and the year before with the John Turner, the Eagle fan.
Every team he's on, whoever follows that team is disappointed he's there.
He's got to walk on eggshells. I mean, a lot of things that come out. There's more off-the-field news than on-field news.
Yep.
But, I mean, if this guy could somewhat keep his head clean and produce for Dallas, they could have a pretty good team. Now, Drew Bledsoe, we all know he's their quarterback. A lot of people in this area, of course, prefer Tom Brady over Drew Bledsoe. But he can still throw the ball.
Yeah.
And the guy that's being overshadowed a little bit as far as preseason is Terry Glenn, who's having a terrific preseason. So you get Terry Glenn, you get Terrell Owens with Drew Bledsoe, a little bit of an improved defense. And you know what? Dallas is going to be pretty tough in that division.
Yeah, I think so too. I mean, you're going to be looking at them making a run for it at the top. The difference with Owens this year, can he stay healthy? You know what I mean? And we'll see what happens.
I think he can stay healthy when he wants to, just like everybody suspects with his hamstring.
Your New York Giants, one of the best quarterbacks possibly up and coming in the entire National Football League.
Possibly.
Possibly. You disagree? Maybe,
well,
maybe
he's showing
not.
Flashes. I don't think you can say...
He's a little young to tell yet, but Eli Manning, of course, who we're talking about. The Giants kind of always known for their defense, and there's no particular reason why their defense won't be a disaster this year. So it'll be interesting to see that balance of decent defense versus...
It's funny that you mentioned defense. They brought in LeVar Arrington from the Redskins, unhappy with the Redskins. They picked up Sam Madison, a former Dolphin, and their first-round pick, Matthias Kiwanuka from Boston College, has also come in. So they've shored up that defense a little bit. And with Eli Manning, don't forget, they still got Plaxico Burress, Amani Tuma, Jeremy Shockey, and Tiki Barber, who was a great last year.
Shockey needs a comeback year because he played it awfully quiet last year after such a great year.
He's getting hurt, but he's a fired-up guy. This is going to be an interesting division. It's going to be a tough division.
Yeah.
Let's move on to the Eagles. Donovan McNabb, of course, lost to T.O. A lot of controversy, if you will, last year because of the T.O. situation. He's back, healthy, lost weight. He looks pretty good.
But who's he got to throw to?
Well, they just traded for Dante Stallworth, which should help them out, but they also have Todd Pinkston and Brian Westbrook. I think they're going to be very tough, especially within the division.
Yep.
I just don't know if they can compete for the division title.
Well, they're not going to put up the 38, 42, 48 points that they used to back at the last couple of years. That's for sure.
I would agree. The Washington Redskins is an interesting team who Daniel Snyder, the Weasel.
Their quarterback situation is where it's tough right now.
They brought in a lot of talent. Clinton Portis, they spent a lot of money.
Yep.
They brought in Antoine Randall. So they bring people in, but like you said, their quarterback situation, the preseason, I know it's only preseason, I don't put a lot of stock in it, but that's all we got to go by right now.
Right.
Mark Brunell does not look good. Their offense does not look good. So it'll be interesting to see. I mean, all four of these teams, you could probably say could win the division. I don't think it's like we're talking about, the old Arizona Cardinals that have no shot to win the division.
Right.
But I think any one of these teams could win the division. I think the two best teams in the division, obviously, are the Giants
Dallas
and Cowboys.
New York, right.
So I think that's where the division is going to lie. But I think it's going to be very close. Like a 10-6 could win this division.
I don't see too much going on in this division as far as advancing beyond the winner of their division. Do you know what I'm saying? I think there are teams elsewhere in the NFL that are a lot more dominant than what any of these teams look like.
Well, we'll talk about that after going to the AFC. But if everything falls in place for the Giants and Cowboys, they could make a strong run in the NFC.
Okay.
I don't think they're as good as the AFC. That's just
who's your division champion there?
Well, I'm looking at a magazine prediction that picks the Giants and Cowboys in second place. I don't agree with the records, 11-5 and 9-7 for the Cowboys. I think the Cowboys could probably go at least 10-6. I'm going to give the edge to the Giants, though, only because of their personnel. But again, this is going to be a very tough division.
Yep.
I think the Giants sneak away with the NFC East.
I agree with that, only because I think Dallas will implode with the Terrell Owens acquisition.
Especially if things will go bad.
Every other team does.
Okay.
NFC West?
Quickly on, because we know we want to get to the Power Conference, AFC.
Yep.
Actually, okay, yeah, we can go to NFC West and then the North and South.
Is there anyone in the NFC West playing football outside of the Seattle Seahawks? That's what I have to say. I don't know if you agree or not.
No. That's my TV reaction. That worked last year.
If these three teams, the Cardinals, Rams, and Niners, play for the next few years like they should, the commissioner really ought to think about moving these teams to different divisions and bringing somebody else in. That's how terrible this...
Let's start with the Seahawks. Of course, they went to the Super Bowl last year.
Yep.
They lost Steve Hutchinson, who was, that whole fiasco there with Minnesota. Got a tremendous contract, and Seattle decided not to match. I don't blame him. It was for $1 gazillion.
But they kept Sean Alexander,
Sean
who is
Alexander,
the man.
Of course. The Hasselbeck, the quarterback, is still there. Of course, Joe Jaravish is now in Cleveland. But they brought in Julian Peterson, Nate Burleson. So, I mean, it's still a very solid football team defensively, offensively. Still the class of that division. And I will believe they'll probably cruise. Yep. Maybe I would say maybe 11-5, 12-4 season because of that division.
Well, strictly alone, 6 games against these 3 teams, they should.
That's true. Now
pummel them.
The next team we're going to talk about, the Arizona Cardinals. That's a little bit of an interesting situation with Warner and the weapons they have now. Edgerrin James, that's a big piece of the puzzle. Anquan Boldin, Larry Fitzgerald, arguably the best wide receivers tandem in the NFL.
Yes.
Together, if their defense can hold on. And they can get a good running game with Edgerrin James. I don't think they'll compete with Seattle, but they could possibly be a playoff team. I dare say that.
It'd be interesting to see how their defense plays, because their offense looks good with the players you mentioned. Don't forget about rookie tight end Leonard Pope, too, being thrown into the mix. They could put up some points.
Kurt Warner, Matt Leinart, who had a great preseason. Kurt Warner's health could depend on how well they do also, because, I mean, he can still throw and he has a lot of weapons. So that's a team I'm very curious to see how they make out throughout the year.
They could be a sleeper. They could completely drop out of,
Absolutely. The St. Louis Rams, the greatest show on turf.
No longer.
Scott Linehan, the former Dolphins offensive coordinator, is now the coach there.
Yep.
Steven Jackson should come into his own. Marshall Faulk's kind of out of the picture. They still got Torrey Holt, Isaac Bruce. I just don't know. They got a couple defensive guys, Will Witherspoon and Ty Hill.
It'd be interesting to see how they play without Mike Martz now. That's what it's all going to come down to.
Yeah, well, I think they'll probably play better. They'll play a little bit more of a conservative style, although
a balanced style.
A balanced style, right? That's a good word for it because Linehan likes to throw the ball down the field, but they still got some talent. Yep. Mark Bulger, again, it should be interesting. The San Francisco 49ers.
A joke.
That's one of your teams, isn't it?
Alex Smith, his rookie season last year, had a 40.8 QB rating, which is just flat out ridiculous. But, I mean, he has no one to throw to. The running game's not all that special. They had Kevin Barlow last year, who is now, they just gave him away. And
let me plug one of their running backs because he's on my fantasy team. Frank Gore, baby.
Oh, there you go.
Well, they got Frank Gore, Vernon Davis, who they picked up as the all-world tight end.
Yep.
He's still a rookie. I didn't agree with I don't think tight ends can be drafted that high. I could be wrong, but in terms of where he was picked, I don't think this was a good selection. We'll find that out a year, 2 or 3 down the road. I'm not saying it's not going to be a viable and good tight end.
It's going to take time.
I'm talking about as a number 6 pick. It's going to take time. And Alex Smith, I mean, the kid's a baby. So
he got rocked bad.
Well,
last
the
year.
verdict is out.
His line's got to cover him.
So we'll have to see on him. Let's make some predictions. This is an easy one.
Seattle Seahawks.
Seattle Seahawks and
Seattle
NFC
Seahawks,
West.
By the way, so far in the NFC, I like as the best team. Let's remember that
That's pretty close. Now let's go to. Well, it's funny you say that. Let's go to the NFC South because it's a team that could challenge the Seahawks for the best team.
Yep.
That's the Carolina Panthers.
Yep.
Who still with John Fox, a tremendous defense.
Steve Smith, baby. That's all I have to say.
Steve Smith, Keanshawn Johnson.
Yep.
They still got Jake Delhomme, D'Angelo Williams, good draft pick from college.
Yep.
So Deshaun Foster always banged up. That's why they brought in D'Angelo Williams, who had a pretty good preseason.
Right.
So they could challenge because they got it offensively, they got the experience, they got everything there. They got Keyshawn Johnson opposite of Steve Smith, now a bigger possession guy.
Right.
So they kind of balanced out a little bit
more. And it wasn't
more.
that long ago that the Carolina Panthers was the team, made a run for it, did their thing, played in the game. They've got the experience still on their team.
And John Fox is still there, so that's a good coach. Let's quickly move on to Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Chris Sims, the QB, still a lot of questions with him. Cornell Williams, second year, Cadillac Williams.
Yep.
I don't know. I mean, I like John Gruden. Good defensive team. I think
offensively, he doesn't like to pass the ball because he doesn't like to take chances, which means Cadillac Williams is going to get plenty of running time.
I don't know what to think of this team yet. I really don't. I think that they're going to be pretty good, but I think that they're in the 9-7 range, 10-6 tops.
Sure.
Atlanta Falcons, interesting team with Michael Vick, who we're all waiting to be the great quarterback. I mean, he's had good years, but they finally got some receivers for him.
Right. Which is kind of interesting in a way because between Vic being a mobile quarterback and then, of course, having Warrick Dunn, you would think that they'd have that running game so established that they wouldn't bother much on the passing attack, but would rather think towards defense, but they didn't. They gave him some offensive weapons, so now they have an even more vicious
defensively too
offense.
John Abraham, Lawyer Malloy is there, and Jimmy Williams out of Virginia Tech, who is a highly touted cornerback. We'll see what happens with them. I mean, it's a West Coast offense. I think that's where Michael Vick's hands are tied, but he's got some weapons there, and again, that's also going to be a pretty interesting division.
Right.
We'll move on to the
New Orleans Saints.
New Orleans Saints.
I mean, could things have gotten any more bad for them as far as work environment? Last year, they played all their games on the road. Now they're going to be playing back at home again in a city that needs something to think about, even a year later. Other than what's going on.
Well, they got Reggie Bush. I mean, obviously, that's the big stud. They got Drew Brees, who the verdict is still out on him as far as his arm strength and everything.
Right.
He had a
bad injury.
He had a bad injury, and his last preseason game, he didn't look too good. So I think Reggie Bush will be very exciting.
Yeah. He's got to put up
right
numbers
now, he's the front runner for Rookie of the Year,
Sure.
even though Deuce McAllister is there. But I don't think it's enough to do any damage. I was a fan of Brees because Miami was going to bring him in.
Yep.
But on the Saints, playing for the Saints with limited receiver help. I mean, I know they got Joe Horn. He doesn't have Antonio Gates now there, which was his big go-to guy in San Diego. So I still think... Is
Deuce going to be the man, and what will Reggie Bush play in that role?
Well, he'll probably play a lot of third down stuff and relieve Deuce. So, it might be a good combination. If they can get a big-time running game, then Drew Brees can do well, but...
Who's going to rack up the touchdowns in that team, I guess? I mean, that's what it's going to...
That's a good question. We'll have to see that works out, but I still think that the Saints, at least for this year, are trailing in the back of the pack.
Yeah, see, I give the Saints a little more credit than that. I don't...
the problem is they have to beat Atlanta, Tampa, and Carolina.
Tough division. Probably the toughest in the NFC, would you say? Even tougher than the Dallas Giants division?
No, I think from top to bottom, the NFC East is still good.
Yeah.
But this is a pretty respectable division.
Okay. Top pick, Carolina Panthers.
Carolina Panthers.
Been in it before. So we're 3 for 3 as far as the NFC goes
Boring.
so far.
NFC North.
NFC North. Go for it.
Well, we got the Minnesota Vikings. Dante Culpepper, of course, got hurt last year. Brad Johnson came in. I mean, they got Brad Childress now is the new coach. There's no more of the prolific offense because obviously they don't
Randy
have
Moss.
Dante Culpepper. But if they can come up with a running game, they've brought in a lot of guys on defense. Brad Johnson can stay healthy. They're going to be pretty good. Some people are saying they could sneak into the playoffs. I don't think so. I still like the Bears, who were 11-5 last year in first place because of their defense. Their defense is so dominant. But on the other hand, Rex Grossman, Thomas Jones, offense,
Yeah.
So it'll be interesting to see, again, on those two. I'm going to go with for sake of time, I'm going to go with the Chicago Bears in this division.
I don't even know who to go with in
I just
that
think
division.
their offense their defense is going to be a little too much, and the Vikings in a new system will probably trail behind them. Green Bay, Detroit, you know what?
Green Bay is going to be a joke strictly because Brett Favre stayed.
I mean, right now in preseason, they look terrible. They
Right.
could be wrong, but I mean, their offensive line is terrible. He's going to get whacked around all year. Detroit, we talked
I like Detroit
a couple
for
years
this
ago
division.
about Mike Williams.
Yep.
We talked about Charles Rogers. I said they were all bad picks after having that talent already, wasting a pick on another receiver. Well, Mike Williams, they're dogging him. They let go of Charles Rogers.
Yeah.
And they only got Roy Williams now. And John Kitna at quarterback, I don't see it.
I like Detroit. I'm picking Detroit as actually the divisional pick there. Minnesota, I think.
Well, let me write this down.
Yeah, go for it,
You
baby.
are taking
we
Detroit.
actually changed our mind.
I'm going to go with the
debated
Bears.
something. The thing about that division is all about Minnesota. Will Mike Tice be the manager or coach after the season is over? Because he barely kept on to his job last year. Want to move on to the AFC? I know you don't care about Mike Tice.
Well, Mike Tyson's no longer there.
Mike Tice is gone?
You weren't listening to me when I said Brad Childress was the coach. I don't want to correct you on the air, but you're in a little bit in the mental lapse. He's on a boat somewhere, cruising down there against a bay.
Did they can him at the end of last year?
Yes, they finally got rid of him.
Oh, I gotta pay attention. All right, moving on. What? Oh,
How much
the
time, Jen?
Minnesota Vikings.
How much time, Jen? Oh, my word.
Plenty of time.
We might have to continue this next week, but...
We should have just done the NFC today and the AFC last week.
That's a good point.
So you want to end the show now? Want to talk about Andre Agassi and Mike Tice a little more?
Stay tuned. Oh, boy. You know.
Unbelievable. Hey,
Listen,
we could do AFC next week if you want. This show has gone to shambles, and it's all because I didn't know that Mike Tyson.
Yeah, I think we should do that. What we'll do is we'll leave you with NFC because, well, it's only a half-hour show, and there is a lot to cover.
We don't have much time. We could easily talk the last few minutes about more Red Sox or some Patriots.
We'll go over. Next week we'll have the first games. Miami at Pittsburgh. Of course, Pittsburgh, no Roethlisberger.
Right.
The Patriots open up against Buffalo. We can talk.
He's only scheduled to miss 1 week? Is that what they're saying now?
So far.
What is his actual, because I know he got a lot of
appendectomy.
facial... Oh,
no, he had yes, he had an emergency appendectomy this week.
Did things get dislodged a little from the accident?
I don't know.
So accident...
I think he was swimming on top of a sea ray.
Oh, accident-related stuff, he's fine now.
Accident-related,
no
he should be fine just a little bit.
Just ugly.
Just ugly.
He was never really a pretty boy anyway, for the most part.
But, Miami plays Pittsburgh, and no Roethlisberger, a little bit of a break for Miami. Charlie Batch playing the Patriots at home. They brought in Doug Gabriel from the Oakland Raiders in a trade, which is probably a good move. The Deion Branch situation has not gotten any better.
No.
The Seahawks want him. The Jets want him. They want to make a trade, but now the Patriots are playing hardball saying we want...
What's the deal, though? The Patriots want to really actually keep him and negotiate something, or are they just being hard asses about it?
I think they're being hard asses because
and deservedly
they probably want two number ones.
Yeah.
And no team's going to give up two number ones as much as they want Deion Branch.
Right.
It's a tricky situation because Deion Branch is a viable part of that offense. Even though, I hate to admit it, being a Dolphin fan, Tom Brady seems to make do with what he has. I mean, he seems to find guys open.
Right.
No matter who it is. So
the problem at this point is now, Tom Brady said this morning, hey, if Deion signed on Saturday, he'd be ready to play. They're playing Sunday, right?
Yes.
He'd be ready to play Sunday. And I find that hard to believe when the dude has not been practicing and not on the field. I can't see how he's not out there taking his hits like the rest of the team is. I don't see how he'd be ready, or for that matter, why Coach Belichick would allow him to go into the game.
I mean, if he signed on Saturday, he probably wouldn't play Sunday. Let's get that straight. But, this is like, he's been in this system, so...
He does know the system, and it's
a
tough system.
Poor Doug Gabriel just came over from Oakland.
Yeah, he's going to have a tough time.
He's taking his playbook home, and he's got to take a crash course. Deion Branch could probably play right away and maybe make a couple catches. I don't know how effective he would be, but I think my personal opinion is there's a lot of bad blood there now.
Yep.
And he said he's prepared to hold out until the 10th week of the season,
which is a joke.
But
you know how I feel about throwing players under the fruit tree.
Yep.
Pedro's there, Manny's there. Deion Branch is there because this dude is under contract.
I would agree.
Already.
I mean,
he's already under contract. He just wants more money.
He's under contract, but I mean, I can see his point because he's only getting paid $1 million, and these guys only have so long. But yeah, I hate we lost one of our footballs. We're falling apart here.
What's that? Oh, Mike Tice says it's almost ready to wrap things up. He's working first, and I didn't even realize it.
So, that'll be an interesting situation, but it doesn't look like it's going to get revolved as we thought before the season starts.
Right.
But Patriots, Bills, Patriots should win this game. We haven't gotten today.
Patriots, Bills, and as good as that might be, I actually think the Miami-Pittsburgh game could be pretty darn interesting because you got two decent teams.
That's a good game. Yeah, that's absolutely a good game. It's on Thursday night.
And somebody's going to start off on the wrong foot, although you got to feel good being a Dolphin fan that Big Ben isn't playing.
Oh, there's no doubt about it. The only thing is, and I don't think Coach Saban will allow this to happen, but you know how it's kind of a no-win situation for Miami because if they win, people are going to say, "Well, you won, without Roethlisberger."
Right.
If we don't win, it's like you can even beat Pittsburgh without Roethlisberger.
Right.
I mean, I don't want to cop up because, as you know me, I think my Dolphins are going to go 16-0.
Is this Saban talking or is this you now?
No, this is me talking. Listen, Pittsburgh. I just have respect for Pittsburgh. They're still defending champs. They've still got a great defense.
And it's more than one player. That would be like saying if Big Ben were out for the whole set's falling apart.
Big Ben makes some good decisions, but it's not like he's Joe Montana or John Elway. He just makes the right decisions.
Not yet.
Well, not yet. No, he's solid, but they've mostly relied on defense, special teams, running the ball. So listen, I just don't take any team for granted. That's all I'm
if
saying.
Miami beats the Steelers, I don't think that Miami fans should really even listen to the rosin they get because the fact of the matter is Pittsburgh's good, like you're saying. However, you would hope that Miami could get off to a good start by beating at least a one-man depleted Pittsburgh team.
That'd be a great win.
Just to kind of prove that, because they ended last year. I was amazed at the way they finished up the season.
On a 6-game winning streak. There's no doubt about it. Listen, Patriots fans should know this. They've been great, but they've had some breaks along the way, just like every Super Bowl team.
Right.
And Thanksgiving, you're not going to say, Jesus, how did Miami win that first game? I mean, it's a football game. You needed to win it. Period. End of story. I don't care. Last time we won a Super Bowl, I was 8 years old. I'm a lot older than that. Now, if we have to cheat to win a Super Bowl, I'll do it.
I don't know. With instant replay, I don't know if that's pulled off quite as much. So, bottom line, are you souped for Sunday? I mean, football starting. All you've been talking about since spring training with Red Sox is how it's a long season. You can't wait for football.
I love the summer. I wish it wasn't gone already.
Right.
Having said that, just to sit down on Sunday and watch a lot of football games, I mean, it's what it's all about. I mean,
did you improve your golf game this summer?
It's an NFL world, and we're all just living in it.
That's it. Hey, we're going to talk about fantasy stuff at some point in the year too. Because,
absolutely, we got every week talk about football.
My team's ridiculous.
The baseball's going to wind down because the Red Sox. I mean, poor John Lester. We didn't even talk about that. Went to check his back pain and has some type of lymphoma. I think the prognosis is good for that type of cancer. So
right. So it is cancer.
Oh yeah.
Because I thought the bottom line that they showed was lymph node related, but I didn't think it was actual cancer.
Lymphoma is technically cancer, and they say that type of cancer, no matter what stage it's in, is very treatable. So, I mean, for his sake, not even speaking from a baseball point of view.
Who cares about baseball?
He's only 22, 23 years old, so hopefully everything will work out with him, and we'll talk some more football next week, AFC. We'll review a couple of the games.
I have a funny feeling that's all we're going to talk about from this point on. That and Tiger Woods. You don't want to talk about Andre, but you'll talk about Tiger. Unbelievable. It's a sports show at yahoo.com. Keep those emails coming. Thanks to Jen behind the glass.
Good job, Jen.
We can't see her, so who knows what she's doing behind that glass. But next week, the AFC, and we'll have one game under our belt to brag about at that point, and we'll go from there. Thanks for watching, everybody.
Enjoy your football weekend.
We broke it up last year, didn't we?
We were kind of stupid too. We should have started with the AFC. I just thought,
we should have started last week.
Yeah.
But that's all right.
Hey, what are you gonna do?
You know what? I'd rather do that than spend 5 minutes on all of the AFC.
I agree. Well, especially the AFC.